Hi, it's Brooke Fox again. We just heard from my radio co-hosts who I've been bubbling with. Yes, we're all quarantining together so we can make lots of jokes in the morning radio. But here in New Day, it's not all about jokes. No, New Day, we cover stories that impact the people in our community. And that's why one major issue drawing attention, of course, was last week's City Council vote to defund police. Now, we wanted to take a closer look at that and see where that vote left both sides. So we reached out to the Seattle Police Officers Guild and King County Equity Now. Now, one of the groups leading the charge to defund the police. Both of these interviews were recorded before Sunday night's violent protests at the Seattle Police Officers Guild. We just want you to know that. And we're going to start the discussion right now with King County Equity Now's Isaac Joy.
Our demands for divesting from the police department are really about maximizing public safety. You know, Seattle deserves public safety for all communities. Our city currently is receiving a woefully inadequate return on a very, very large investment in the Seattle Police Department. You know, Seattle Police Department, $409 million budget is larger than the Department of Human Services, Education and Early Learning, Housing, Arts and Culture, Immigrant and Refugee Affairs, Sustainability and Environment. And those are larger than all of those departments combined. This is really about making prudent, thoughtful decisions to allocate our scarce taxpayer dollars into pro-community initiatives that we know not only respond to harm, but prevent it.
What's the biggest argument that you hear against defunding the police, and what do you have to say to people who make that argument?
Yeah, absolutely. I think folks, when they hear defund the police department, they immediately think that, you know, a drastic shrinking of police officers and that crime and kind of in the city is going to go rampant. And I think the first thing for folks to understand is that there are a lot of different services that fall under the police department. And many of those services that fall under the police department aren't what we kind of typically understand as kind of the police role. And many of those departments and those services really don't kind of have a direct connection, you know, with potentially preventing crime. And can be civilianized. So part of this transition is about taking services from the police department and bringing them outside of the police department. I think for folks that when they hear slashing reducing the police department's budget, it's been kind of sensationalized and politicized, but really it's about making rational decisions and allocating resources into data-driven, community-led solutions that we know prevent harm. It's about us being rational. It's about us being prudent. It's about us being thoughtful. And it's about us trying to maximize public safety for everyone in our community.
You know, I was reading on your website about participatory budgeting. Is that part of what you're talking about when it comes to reallocating this money and knowing where it goes? Because if we cut the money, how do we keep track that it's actually going to those programs, whether that be mental health or homelessness? Like how can we, you know, help to be the gatekeepers, I guess, as the public to make sure it's going to where we want it to go?
Yeah, that's probably the most exciting part is we have kind of coalitions of predominantly Black-led, Indigenous-led, BIPOC-led coalitions that are partnering with some of the national thought partners, preeminent thought partners in this space on how can we, participatory budgeting really is just about taking the decision-making on how we spend our taxpayer dollars and what programs and proposals we put those taxpayer dollars to use on. It gives the community the control of making and determining that process. And so, yeah, participatory budget will be a huge part of determining how that money in 2021 budgets, police department's budget that's reallocated into pro-community initiatives, how that money will be spent.
Has King County Equity Now or Decriminalize Seattle, have they been able to sit down with SPD or City Council and talk about these things? Have you guys all sat at a table at any point and had these big discussions?
Yeah, yes, I would say absolutely in terms of having conversations with city council. I think, and I feel how these conversations or how this process is portrayed in the media does not reflect the kind of day-to-day interactions. It's a small group of people in the city that are working to try to figure this out. There are interactions amongst the groups that are within that, kind of smaller circle all the time, whether it's aides, city council meetings, folks within the community.
What would you hope for the future? For my final question, what's your big hope for the future?
Yeah, my hope for the future is that this moment reflects kind of an inflection point. There's a lot of change, a lot of turmoil, but it also presents an opportunity. It presents an opportunity for Seattle to move towards a new normal rooted in equity. And so my hope is that this is a moment and that through these conversations, the city comes together to support truly, really for the first time, certain communities that have never really been supported. And through that process, it brings Seattle to become a city that we can all be proud of. And I think this is a great opportunity to do that. I think that work is underway. And I'm absolutely excited that and optimistic that Seattle can become a better city, and that through the leadership of Black and Indigenous communities, it will.